Hello, hello, and welcome to another podcast episode of Overpowering Emotions, where I talk all things big emotions, emotion regulation, anxiety, resilience. I am going to build on my discussion about perfectionism. I've been talking about procedural thinking, and today I want to talk a little bit more, just adding on some of this thinking and something that I've learned in sports psychology, specifically in high pressure situations when athletes tend to choke. Their performance falls apart under stress. We see it in golf. We see it in tennis. We see it probably in every sports, but those are the two that come to my mind that we see it a lot. Now, often we refer to binary thinking, and that's my focus today is on this binary thinking. Normally, when we talk about binary thinking in the psychology world, we see it as maladaptive. It's this black and white, all or nothing thinking. And when we're looking at perfectionism, usually perfectionists have this binary thinking to evaluate their performance, right? So judging things in absolute terms. We're either winning or we're losing. We're a success or we're a failure. We're perfect or we're totally flawed. In sports, athletes might see their performance as either flawless or a total failure, and there's no room for anything in between. But taking that outside of sports psychology, we see that as well. When our kids see something either as a beautiful piece of art or like a complete success or a complete disaster, again, no middle ground. And so that's a problem, right? When they have this really rigid thinking, it's just creating so much pressure on them to perform perfectly. And then all of that pressure is creating so much anxiety, and they're terrified of making mistakes to the point that they freeze or lash out or avoid, right? And so all of that all or nothing thinking, it's reinforced, and they just create this constant cycle of stress and self-criticism and avoidance of anything that could be challenging. That is harmful binary thinking, right? And in every instance, people are thinking about the final product and the final product being perfect and how it looks when it's finished, right? I've talked about Heather Dorniden now for the past few weeks and how she fell down during a race. And therefore, a contextual binary perfectionism thinker would say it's not a perfect race. And so therefore it's not even worth it. I may as well give up. But she finished the race. And so now we can flip the binary thinking to our advantage. So we can use that. We know our brain does it. So why not use it to our advantage? We just need to stop focusing on how the task was done. Yes, I'm sure she would have preferred to finish the race way in front of everybody else, not having fallen down, but she took the win. But it doesn't even matter if she won or not. It's did you or did you not finish the race? Now, if you've been following along and switched your focus, last week I gave some homework around doing some procedural thinking, right? Where we're focusing on the process rather than the final product and thinking about what's next. If you've been doing that, this is going to be really easy because it's not about how it turns out, how the essay turns out, how the kids' rooms turn out, right? If the room is perfect. For me, my daughter would probably shoot me if I showed you a picture of her room. I would love to show you a picture of her room. You cannot see even a millimeter of ground. Like literally, there's at least a foot of stuff all over her floor. There's just enough space to open her door for her to squeeze through. Like one of our bigger dogs can't even get into her room. So for me, it would just be, hey, it would be amazing if stuff was up off the floor. I don't care what the rest is, think of what's the little guy, Calvin and Hobbes, right? I can picture, or is it Dennis the Menace? I can't remember. There's some comic strip where he's meant to go clean his room and then he can go out and play. And so mom comes and checks his room and she's like, wow. But then she opens up the closet and everything falls out. And he's like, you told me to clean my room. You didn't tell me how to clean it. And we got to get out of the house, right? I don't care how it turns out. There's a Covey, it's not Stephen Covey, it's a different Covey on YouTube, Green and Clean. I've talked about this video before too, Green and Clean. He talks about stewardship. I want you to help me, son, make our grass green and clean. I want it to look, no garbage and green. I don't care how you do it, as long as it's green and clean. That's all I want. So we got to get out of that, the hows, right? How um, how the room looks, or if they got an A. And it's not even just the house, it's that final outcome, really. Did they win the race? Did they score a goal? Is your room clean perfectly? So the binary thinking isn't about it's either an A or you're a failure. No, it's did you do the test? Did you finish the test? Or maybe not even finish. Did you do the test? Sit down to write the test. Did you cross the finish line? Did you create a good play that you could, open up to shoot, or open up an opportunity for somebody else to shoot if you're playing hockey, right? We actually have zero control over most outcomes in life, right? We can study all we want, but we don't know for sure what's on the test. We don't know for sure that we can get an A, right? There's really no outcome. We can skate our butts off and practice shooting, but we cannot guarantee that we are going to get a goal. So we don't have control. And in that moment, there's a moment of space in every situation where we submit a paper, where we hit submit on, maybe a grant application. I don't know. A moment where we shoot the puck. There's that moment of space where we have finished our last step and now we wait. And it might be a second or two, but there's a moment in space. And it's in that space we need to start relishing. We need to start celebrating, right? If a kiddo has done, well, I'm thinking even just, for candidacies for my doctoral research, right? It wasn't even defending my research. It's just showing that I can do research in the first place. You have to do this candidacy exam. And so it's not waiting until the end to celebrate if you pass the exam or if you, defend your research. The best time to celebrate is when you've done all of the steps to now go and do that, to go and write that test. I have some provisionals right now who have to go write the EPPP, and I would love to, I know they're really stressed out about it, but I would love to celebrate now everything that you have done to get to this spot. Like, I wish I could go and have a little party right before they go write the exam, right? To celebrate all of the work that they have put into that. It's not waiting around until we're done. That's not when we celebrate. It's in that space. And that's really important. And that's an easy thing that we can start doing. I know it's a little bit harder from shooting, a goal. We can't like have a little mini party. But we have a moment to watch and just to be there and relish the fact that I got to this point. I was able to get through all of these defensemen to make a shot. Okay. We can do experiential things. Kids learn through experience. So we could have them turn off a light switch, right? And maybe they could fall along the way and they like barely hit it. They hit it, their arm coming down the wall, and they hit their head on the wall as they're going down. It didn't look beautiful. It didn't look graceful, but did you or did you not turn off the light? I don't care how pretty it looked, but it was done. You finished it. And so instead of saying, did you win? You can ask, did you play? Right? And then we can ask other things. We can add on to that. How did you feel about your effort today? Right? What did you learn from today's game? We're just changing the focus from that success versus failure to growth and learning, right? And so we need to model that because we can rewire the brain. We just need a lot of practice and a lot of modeling and just engaging in this, because the only way our kids are going to develop that resilience is through their experience. And so we want to keep exposing them to lots of experiences through this, right? This is how we're going to do it. So we got to get them out there trying new things. I don't care how well they do it. It's the first time that they're picking up, a bow and arrow. I don't care how they're doing it. Did you pick up a bow and arrow? Were you able to, get the arrow off the thing, even if it just dropped at your feet, right? I did axe throwing with my kids for the first time, and it was really easy to get caught up in, oh, I didn't get the bullseye. Or, there's a lot of people, watching it. They're not, the axe isn't even staying, or they can't even get it across like a line, like the short line, right? But hey, kid, did you or did you not throw an axe, right? Did you not pick it up? even if it just kind of fell in front of you. Did you or did you not? And we can adjust our question, right? If maybe they didn't throw it, maybe they picked it up and it fell out of their hands. Did you or did you not pick up an X and it left your hand, right? So it can be really helpful to set our binary target in a very black and white way, right? And so we're going to go axe throwing. In our mind, we all want to hit the bullseye. We want it to nail inside, stay inside the board on the bullseye, right? We can hit the bullseye. That's another thing. You can hit it, but it might just fall out. We all want to go in, and we don't talk about this, but we need to start being more explicit. That's not the goal. Maybe on attempt 500 we can start putting that as a goal, but for right now I just want you to be able to pick up the axe and let it go, right, the proper way. I don't care how far it goes. I just want you to get in there, get into the ice, and I want you to skate and do your best to make yourself open to catch a pass, right? I want you, and so maybe if they're not at the place where they can make themselves open, it's just I want you to get out there and skate. Did you or did you not skate? Right? And so we can adjust those to make sure it's within their realm. Once it becomes easy and they're like, yes, of course, I'm always going to be skating, then we can maybe start expanding it where I want you to touch the puck, right? That's the goal, is to touch the puck at some point. And we don't have to say in the game yet, because maybe we were not convinced that they're going to be able to touch it during the game, but for sure during the warm up when they're doing some passes, did you or did you not touch the puck while you're on the ice? I didn't say when, right? And then we can start expanding that. I remember golfers, and there's some other things too, that what we want to focus on is really looking at that binary black and white. But I remember reading about golfers who would choke, and so they needed to find some action that 100% of the time when they were in that high pressure situation, that no matter what the conditions are, they could focus on that thing that they could do 100% of the time. So instead of focusing, like, let's say it's the last round of a Masters, okay? This is usually where we see people choke. They've done fantastic, they're winning even, and it's that last hole, and then they choke. So they're getting in on that last hole at the big Masters tournament, and instead of focusing on the hole in one, which is where they will choke, instead of focusing on that, they're going to focus on what's something that they can do 100% of the time, no matter what, even if they broke both of their legs right now. They could pick up the ball out of the hole after the shot. So that's what they need to focus on, is picking the ball up out of the hole, right? That's something definitely that we know that they can do. So then at the end, did you or did you not pick up the ball out of the hole? I don't care if it, how it got into the hole. I want to know, did you get it out of the hole? And then afterwards, they can discuss what went well, what could be improved. And so again, it's looking at that effort and where we're focusing our mind, and all of that contributes sort of to the overall growth, regardless of the immediate outcome. Same thing, even, when I was learning to ride a motorcycle, if you're looking at the thing that you're scared of, i.e. the ground, you are going to fall down. You are going to fall off your bike. You're going to drive yourself into the ground, right? You're going to hit, or if you see a deer and you're staring at the deer, you're probably going to hit the deer. You got to look, at what's next and what's my goal. My goal is to stay on my bike, to stay driving in a straight line. What is it that I need to do? We can start focusing on that. So when we're doing this, they can start seeing how to set realistic goals, because we don't really tend to do that, right? They just want to go in and make a goal or have a hat trick or whatever it is that they, get an A. They're not focusing on what is realistic based on what I can do. And so we are creating that space for them to see, okay, that is something I can do. Maybe it's too easy and maybe next time I can increase it a little bit. So that's a key skill that they need to learn, right? Is that goal setting, and how do I break things down to be able to reach that goal, right? Into those small manageable steps so that they can see that pathway and see how they manage it. Again, last week I talked about, ideas for them to start breaking things down themselves, and then making sure we are celebrating as each step, whenever we can, celebrating at each of those steps and in that space. If we can before the outcome, that's great, because then we're also modeling that and we're praising and showing. A lot of perfectionism comes up, and I'm going to be talking about some of the things that parents do, that parents need to work on to really help their kids get out of this perfectionism rut just by changing their own behaviors. And one of them is unintentionally modeling conditional love, right? Only praising kids when they get that A or when they get the shot, or that's when they, have the biggest energy around some of the praise, for example. And even though we're not saying, your love is conditional based on your performance, we're not saying that, but we're sort of showing that, aren't we? Right? Or we get angry if the outcome isn't how we wanted it. And so we're able to kind of to shift our focus as the adult as well away from that perfection and focusing on what for sure can they be successful with and getting them into that success loop. So I'll leave it there for today. Just another way to think about this: continue for homework, continue doing that procedural thinking, and now we can add in that binary goal. What's something 100% that I know that you can do? Maybe they're going into a test and we know 100% they can write their name at the top of the test, right? And read through, maybe it's reading through every question, right? Maybe that's it. How you answer, what you answer is regardless, just making sure you read through all of the questions. So I'll leave it there. Help those kiddos be bold and courageous, and I will see you next time.